Okay, let's take a look at this problem here. A stack of magazines is 4 and 55 hundredths centimeters high. So we can see here I even drew a picture because this is going to represent this stack of magazines. And I know that it's 4 and 55 hundredths centimeters tall. This is the stack of them. Now each magazine is 65 hundredths centimeters thick. How many magazines are in the stack? So I can see here that I have this stack and it's going to be made up of magazines. I'm trying to figure out how many magazines are there in the stack. So I know that there might be a magazine here that's 65 hundredths. Then I know that there's another magazine and it's 65 hundredths. Then there's going to be another magazine that's 65 hundredths. Then there would be another magazine that's 65 hundredths. So I can see here, not 68, 65 hundredths. So I can see here that I have this stack and basically it's being split up because it's made up of different magazines. And I can even see here when I look at this picture that this stack is made up of different magazines. And I want to figure out if I have a stack of magazines that's 4 and 55 hundredths and it's being split up. I want to know how many magazines are there in the entire stack. So what operation might I be doing if I have 4 and 55 hundredths centimeters? Because I always start with what I have, of course. And I know that the magazine is 0 and 65 hundredths, but I don't know I don't know how many magazines there are. So what would I do with 4 and 55 hundredths and 65 hundredths to get to my mystery number? What would I have to do? That's right. I would have to divide. Because as I remember, I always start with what I have. I have this stack and it's being split up by magazines. And if we're splitting it, I know split is a key word that we are going to divide. Okay, so now that I know the operation, again, I do have to remember that I always start with what I have. So what is the height of the entire stack? How tall is the entire stack of magazines? That's right. The stack of magazines is 4 and 55 hundredths centimeters high. So this is my dividend. So I have to place 4 and 55 hundredths as my dividend. And then I know my divisor is 65 hundredths. Now, my divisor cannot be a decimal. How many times do I have to move the decimal point to make my divisor a whole number? That's right. I'd have to move it 2 times. 1, 2. And again, whatever I do to the outside, I have to do to the inside. So I moved 1 2 times. So I'm going to move 1 2 times. Oh, and then when I divide, I have to remember to bring the decimal straight up. Okay, so now I am going to skip count by 65. Now, I don't know how to skip count by 65, so I am going to repeatedly add 65. So I'm actually going to move to the next slide so I can do this. So I'm going to do 65 plus 65. What is 65 plus 65? So let's see, 5 plus 5 is 10. 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 1 more is 13. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and put that inside my chart. So I have 130. Okay, now I'm going to keep adding 65. So I'm going to circle this. So I have 130. Now I'm going to add, what's 130 plus 65? That's right. 5 plus 0 is 5. 6 plus 3 is 9. I bring down my 1. Now I have 195. I have to keep going. So I'm going to add 65 again. Now what's 195 plus 65? Do this in your notebook. 5 plus 5 is 10. 9 plus 6 is 15, plus 1 more is 16. 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay, I'm not at 455 yet, so I'm going to keep going. So now I have 260 plus 65. On your whiteboard, I want you to solve. What's 260 plus 65? 5 plus 0 is 5. 6 plus 6 is 12. 2 plus 1 is 3. I'm not at 455, so I'm going to keep going. So let's add 65 again. What is 325 plus 65? 5 plus 5 is 10. 6 plus 2 is 8, plus 1 more is 9. I have a 3. 390. I'm still not there yet. Almost there. Then I'm going to add 65 again. 5 plus 0 I know is 5. 9 plus 6 I know is 15. 3 plus 1 is 4. Okay. So now I'm noticing I'm going to take all the numbers that I just added. So I had 65, 130, then I had 195, then I had 260, then I had 325, then I had 390, and then I had 455. So I've made my factor and my multiple table. And that's going to be super helpful for me. Now, I could keep skip counting by 65. However, I noticed that I reached 455. So I want to think about how I could divide 455 divided by 65. Can 65 go into 4, or is 4 too small? 4 is too small, so I'm going to put my 0 up here. Can 65 go into 45? I don't see a number close to 45. I notice 45 is smaller than 65, so I'm going to put a 0 again above 45. Now, 65 can go into 455. Now, 65 times something will give me 455. Where do I see 455? That's right, I see it at factor 7. So I'm going to put the 7 up top. I divide. Now I multiply because I divide, multiply, and subtract. So now I have to multiply 65 times 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 455. And I'm going to subtract. 5 minus 5 is 0. 5 minus 5 is 0. 4 minus 4, I know, is 0. So as of right now, I believe that there are 7 magazines in this whole stack of books. Now, I do know that I could check my work. So I know that each magazine is 0 and 65 hundredths. And I believe that there are 7 magazines. If I take one magazine, which is 65 hundredths, and I times it by the 7 magazines, I should get 4.55 because I know division and multiplication are inverses. So both numbers on the outside, when I multiply them, should give me my dividend. So I'm taking my divisor, I'm taking my quotient, and it should give me my dividend. So I'm going to try and test that out here. 7 times 5 I know is 35. 7 times 6 I know is 42. Then I have to add 3 more, 42, 43, 44, 45. I have to put down the 5, carry the 4. Lastly, 7 times 0. I know anything times 0 is 0. And I have 4 more. How many numbers are after the decimal point? How many digits? That's right, 2. So I move back 1, 2, 4 and 55 hundredths. I notice that this number is my dividend, and it's also the number that I started with, the height of the magazines. So my answer is, in fact, 7 magazines. I hope this helps.